मेरे बाबा छवि अंतर में अपने उतारा करूं, मेरे बाबा छवि अंतर में अपने उतारा करूं, मेरे बाबा आप है साथ में, आप है पास में, आप है साथ में, आप है पास में, फिर भी प्यार से तुमको पुकारा करूं, मेरे बाबा फिर भी प्यार से तुमको पुकारा करूं, मेरे बाबा, मेरे बाबा। मैं निराकार को देखते देखते अब तो मैं भी निराकार होने लगी, ज्योति बिंदु मेरे आपके ध्यान में, देह दुनिया का मैं भान खोने लगी, देह दुनिया का मैं भान खोने लगी। आप यूं ही पधारे इस धाम में, मेरे बाबा मैं परम धाम में यूं पधारा करूं, मेरे बाबा, मेरे बाबा। आपसे दिल की ऐसी लगन है लगी, आप में ही है रहता मेरा मन मगन, आप धरती मेरे, आप मेरे गगन, आपसे मिल रहा है मुझे सुख सघन, आपसे मिल रहा है मुझे सुख सघन। आपने अपना सर्वस्व वारा सदा, मेरे बाबा आप पर मैं।
Shanti, Sister Jayanti, and welcome to everyone. I hope you all had very nice Xmas celebrations. And at least for us in GRC, now we're moving slowly towards silence. And the Avyakt, we're having bhattis now every evening. So gentlemen, just a couple of quick stories about His Highness, His Holiness. So one of the stories I remember is when Mama was returning back from somewhere, and it was the rainy season. And you know how it is in Madhuban, it's pelting with rain. And so then Baba said to the children, is this how you're going to welcome Mama? Under this rain? And so Baba especially had a shade made so that when Mama comes and meets everyone and takes off her shoes, that she's very comfortable. because Baba said, this is not an ordinary soul that is coming. It's a very great soul. And this is what I've seen, that whether it's Baba, Mama, the Dadis, they elevate the vision of a particular soul, and then you start seeing them with that vision, and you start developing that same kind of respect. And then the other story I'm reminded of is Dadi Gulzar, when they were young, I mean, literally young, 7, 8, 9, 10. And she was sharing how Baba would feed them milk, and not just plain milk, but with pistachios and almond and saffron. And she said we were treated like little idols, where we were basically, bathed and clothed and fed and looked after, put to bed, and all their needs were met. And this was Baba really giving them that love and respect. So when one is receiving that, then you don't want to go anywhere else, because all your needs are being met. So we love to hear from you now, gentlemen. Thank you.
So thank you for those stories. And just one little addition to the Dadi Gulzar story. She said how when there's a lot of bhakti and bhavana in people, then what they do is whichever are the first fruits of the season, they will offer to their most loved deity. And then they will enjoy it themselves. But the first offering of those fresh fruits of the season are always for the deities. And so this is how Baba and Mama treated them. In the days of Karachi, whatever was the new fruit of the season, whether it was mangoes or whatever else, the little ones would be treated in that way as the little idols of the temple. And so the first fruits would be offered to them. It just gives you that awareness of how much love and respect Mama and Baba had for these amazing souls who took that sustenance. So back to the sustenance that Baba gives all of us, not just to those souls. And I also just want to comment that today I'm speaking from GRC, but in a different room to Sister Aruna. And here you see this amazing creation. You don't see it with the lights on, because there's already too much light here, but it's a very stylized version of a Christmas tree. But you can see that it's quite remarkable, very simple, but very artistic and elegant. So GRC lends itself to Christmas, as many people have commented. It's been really, really beautiful being here. So who is Baba speaking to? Baba speaking to the highest and the holiest ones. And so Baba really elevating everyone's self-respect to that intoxication of who we actually are. And so the reminder that no matter how many great souls there have been through the whole Kalpa, how many prophet souls there may have been, the founders of religions, yet it is you children who are the highest and the holiest of all. Right from your eternal state, the Anadi state, the state when you were in Paramdham, in your eternal form of the soul. In that state, you were the ones who were closest to the Father. Because if you look at the genealogical tree, at the tree that's inverted, upside down, so the roots and then the trunk, they're the ones who are closest to Shiv Baba. And so in your eternal period, you are the ones who are closest to God. And then in your original period, at the starting point of Satyug as deity souls, again, you are the ones who are the highest and the most elevated, the holiest of all. It's only the deity souls who are worshipped in the temples with such precision and accuracy through devotion. I remember being at one temple in India, I've forgotten where, somewhere, and they showed us a whole line of images. And then they said that, do you see the clothes and the jewelry? Well, there's a different set of clothes and jewelry for every single day. And the Pandit, who is under training to become a Pandit, they have to study this because there's a very prescribed formula for not just what has to be given to the idol to wear, to adorn the idol, but the sequence in which you put it on. And so if you put on something in the wrong sequence, it falls off. It doesn't stay. And so your mistake is noticed by whatever energy is present. And so it's not human energy, that's for sure, but whatever that image needs and the proper sequence, that devotion and ritual, the accuracy has to be studied and followed through very precisely. And so I was saying that nobody is worshipped in that way, in the way that you are all worshipped. And the deities are the ones who have absolute all attainments. In Hindi, the words go together, Tana, Mana, Dhana, Jan. And so your body, your mind, your wealth, and people, on all levels, there is perfect equilibrium in terms of the goodness and the riches and the body, the mind, the relationship with people. So everything is filled with total attainment and happiness. And at no other time can anyone else ever achieve this. But you, the souls who belong to that original period of the golden age, the deity souls, experience this. And then later on, even when you come into the middle period, the copper age, then this is where Baba spoke about the accuracy in terms of rituals. And even if in a temple there are images of the great Mahatmas, the sages or the saints, but their worship can never be as precise and accurate as the worship of these deity souls who have been remembered. And now, at the very end of Kali Yuga, even now at this moment, you are Brahmins, the highest of all, the ones who have been sustained by God, who were taught by God, and also who followed the instructions of the highest on high. And you're the ones who then become the angels. And then, of course, the cycle begins again. And so in this stage of being Brahmins, you inculcate the highest level of purity. And what is that? That is that complete state of purity, true Vaishnav, belonging to the clan of Vishnu, in which there are no other thoughts of impurity or negativity or waste or ordinariness in your mind, in your intellect, or even in your dreams. Everything is completely pure. There's total purity. And if by chance you don't have this highest aim to achieve that state of total, complete purity, if you're on another level and you say, well, you know, these things happen and it's okay, we'll just carry on, we'll see what's possible and manage to do whatever we can. Or anyway, it was only in my mind, it didn't actually come into action. And so nobody noticed, nobody knows. But you forget that Baba sees it all, Baba knows it all. But of course, Baba only explains within the gathering rather than telling each individual, this is wrong, that is wrong. No. And those of you who have the highest aim, and even if you're not there yet, but you're moving forward to that total aim of perfection, that's the Sun dynasty. And where you have those thoughts, well, it's okay, nobody sees, and it doesn't really matter anyway, then that's a sign of the Silver Age soul. So make sure that your aim is the highest. And how is it possible to achieve that highest aim? Because you're God's children, because you have the company of the Almighty Authority. With your courage, the Almighty Authority gives you help, and therefore you're able to make that which is considered impossible become possible. And so what other people think can never be possible, Baba makes it happen for you in a very natural and easy way, because Baba doesn't want to have the children experience anything to be difficult. everything should be simple and easy for his children. And so take that help that Baba is offering, and you can achieve that total aim of purity very, very naturally and easily. And yes, it's the Murli that's after Shivratri. After Shivratri, 2 weeks later, comes the festival of Holi. And so in this particular festival, now Baba's saying that what is it to be holy and to celebrate Holi? In Bhakti, they say that you have to be colored with many colors. And Baba says, no, just one color is enough. Stay in the company of the one, and you'll be colored by that company. And the spiritual influence, this company, is the fastest color of all. And I know there are many non-English speakers. So just to explain that this term fast color means a color which doesn't ever fade, a firm, strong color, because sometimes you know how there are colors and maybe they fade in the sunlight, or you put them in the wash and they come out and they color everything else and make everything into a mess. But a fast color, a color that doesn't run, a color that stays and never fades. And so stay in company with the Father, make Baba your companion, and that color will color you. And that spiritual intoxication will be such that you have the highest level of self-esteem. No arrogance, the word abhiman, arrogant, but also swaman, swa, the self, the eternal self, the soul. And so total contrast to ego, for that stage in which you're aware of the eternal self and the qualities and the value of the eternal self. And so there's self-esteem which truly belongs to you, which no one can ever take away from you. And so Baba reminding us, by staying in the company of the one, you experience this intoxication. And then Baba commenting, but there are some children, especially some with the double foreign children, who feel a bit lonely. Yes, they like to be in company with one, but they also like to be alone. And then, of course, when they're alone, then they say that they feel lonely. And so I was saying, what's going on? Well, has it become a habit to feel lonely? Well, what you can do is to make Baba not just your companion, but to be combined with Baba. And in that stage where the soul feels combined with Baba, it's that stage when the soul is merged in God's light, in God's love. And so it's surrounded by all of these things at all times. And so Brahman life then is a life of great joy and intoxication in which you sing and dance all the time. That inner joy gives you that experience of singing God's praise, gives you that experience of dancing internally, no matter how challenging the circumstances or situations can be. And so in that stage, it's a celebration all the way. And so never ever feel lonely, never ever feel alone. And the reason for this is because sometimes there's carelessness, sometimes there's laziness. And so as a result of these things, then the soul feels separated from God and is unable to experience that feeling of love as the protection that is being offered by God in a very beautiful way. And so that state of total purity and being not just in God's company, but being combined with the Father. And then further, Baba asking the question, is it that today you're celebrating Holi and tomorrow you'll have forgotten? But no, let it be that this stage stays with you all the time. And don't let it happen that Maya's influence ever gives you any other feeling. And yes, the carelessness and the laziness sometimes mean that instead of allowing those original divine sanskars to emerge, you allow the immediate sanskars of Kali Yuga to emerge again. And Baba was saying, but surely This is your new birth. And in your new birth, you have new sanskars. The old sanskars were finished. They were left behind with the old form. You are now God's children. You've taken a new birth. And so surely now in this awareness of the new birth, you don't want to go and touch those old dirty sanskars again. You let go of them. Now let it be staying like that without being pulled back again with attachment and taking them on. And so Baba's comment that, are you offering the old sanskars hospitality? They emerge and you then nurture them. Well, that's Maya. But of course, another way to deal with it is to remind yourself, the old sanskars of Kali Yuga don't belong to me. They are not my property. They belong to Ravan. And so I don't have permission to touch those old things that are not mine anyway. They came to me somewhere at the end of Kali Yuga, but they don't originally belong to me. And so can I be absolutely clear and say, I won't allow Maya to deceive me. It's not my property. It's Ravan's property. God's property has been given to me. All the treasures that Baba's sharing with me. But these other sanskars of carelessness and laziness and ego and so on, they're not my sanskars. They belong to others. They belong to Ravan, actually. And so I don't want to accept them and make them belong to me yet again. And so very powerful tip from Baba in terms of how to deal with all of these things. And so then again, Holi and the celebration. And in celebration, you sing and you dance. And I was remembering the times that I've been in Madhuban at Holi period, and the dancing that goes on is huge. In Gyan Sarovar, sometimes after the Murli, first there's a little bit of the coloring, and then the dancing, and the dancing carries on for maybe an hour or so, maybe longer. But everybody joins in, not just people coming onto the stage in dozens and dozens, but also just on the floor. Everybody off their seats and they're all dancing. So Holi is a special time of dancing. But Baba's saying that, yes, dance with your mind, sing also the praise of God continually. And so let the new sanskars or the original sanskars of the deity role emerge, and let these sanskars of Ravan become merged totally. They don't belong to me anymore whatsoever. And so just as when light comes, the darkness is dispelled, in the same way, God's light will dispel all the ugliness of whatever else were the weaknesses and the attempts by Maya to try and pull us back to her. And so this stage of total purity, Baba's really, really explaining very beautifully how elevated this stage is. And then Baba spoke to Dadi Janki. And 91, she'd had double pneumonia, but she recovered and did amazing, amazing service for years and years later, nearly 30 years more. After she'd had that state of double pneumonia. And at that point, she'd been already 70 plus. But after that, continuing with service, and Baba explaining a few secrets there, that Dadi Janki at this moment is well and doing a lot of service. And Baba saying that you never stop serving. And as a result of the serving, you get blessings. And the blessings work like medicine for you. So a pointer to all of us as to how we should handle illness. And then Baba also explaining, yes, there are karmic accounts that need to be settled, but your passion for service is such that the karma gets settled very quickly. And again, you're out there serving because of your love for service and commitment for service. And also in that, Baba seeing how happy everybody else was to see Dadi looking well and doing so much service. And so Baba saying that everyone is happy seeing the elders, the Dadis who were there at that time, how the elders are responding and how much it is they are moving forward, just seeing the enthusiasm of the Dadis. And then Baba saying, it's the Avyakt year. And so is everyone going to make miracles happen? And when it's time for service, then yes, service in itself works through miracles, and Baba makes that happen. But what about yourself, your own personal transformation? Are you able to bring about that transformation within yourself? And that becomes truly a miracle. And so Baba reminding us that it's that miracle that Baba would like to see happen. And Baba's definition of a miracle, that which was impossible, you thought was impossible, it becomes possible. But also that which you did not even dream was possible actually happens in the corporeal world in a very real way. And so Baba wants to see miracles in terms of transformation and how time, yes, time does bring miracles in the sense of self-transformation, but the real miracle is to make that effort and do it before time finishes. An example, I'm attached to somebody, and sooner or later, there will be a separation, whether it is death that separates us, whether it's relocation that separates us, whatever it is, something or another. And then at that moment, I have to finish my attachment. But that's time teaching me to conquer negativity. Whereas if today I decide, this is the aim that I have, I want to settle all my karma and be completely free before I go home, then that situation will work out and somebody will come forward and help and they will be served, but also then all that karma again begins to change. So different ways of looking at the situation of illness and how we deal with it. But Baba explaining beautifully that now at this moment, it's at that point, it was 25 years since Baba became Avyakt. And so Baba's question, what gift are you going to give Brahma Baba? And I don't think anybody had thought about that, but Baba made it very simple and clear. What is the gift that Brahma Baba would like to receive? What is it that he would like to see in you? Transformation. And so let each soul just think about what it is that they can give to Baba that will please Baba the most. And of course, it will also, as I give it up, it'll also become my renunciation. And through that, the service that will happen is beautiful. And also Baba's comment that the double foreigners have done great service, are moving forward, there's been expansion happening. But those were the instruments for expansion happening. Very interesting point, that together with the focus on service, the tapasya and the renunciation has to be part of the foundation. Then the expansion will happen naturally and easily. And then Baba picking up the feelings of a few. Is it that as you see the expansion, you feel that you're going to be deprived? No, you're not going to be deprived. Let the expansion continue, and what you'll be receiving is even more benefit. Why? As you help others move forward, you receive blessings from Baba and the blessings whom you have served and are encouraged to move ahead. And so never any loss if I inspire or encourage others. In fact, I receive double blessings as a result of that. And so the highest and the holiest children and the vision with which Baba sees us is always, always so beautiful. We don't always remember it ourselves, but Baba reminds us. So.
Thanks, Jayanti. Always a lovely synopsis and always nice to go back to the original Murli. So maybe to start off with a little general question in this regard. So, and of course, taking off from our discussion this morning after Murli. So, Jayanti, when the Dadis made effort, their effort was unique. I mean, we still use the word effort, but their effort was very unique in that I feel a lot of their attention went into really imbibing the knowledge and getting it deeply ingrained within their bones, so to speak. So that's why anytime anything happened, they'd say, this is karma, this is drama, be soul conscious. Their answers were also simple to the problems that were emerging. And somehow, I speak for myself, maybe my effort is to try and conquer that, or to troubleshoot that, or to merge that, or to emerge that. So really, my question is that what was the quality of effort? What do you think? Oh yeah, and in connection with that, gentlemen, I feel that they were totally aware of the consequences of not making that effort. And maybe we're not aware of the consequences, which is why we still are lazy. I'm still lazy, I'm still careless, because I'm not seeing what would be the consequence of not having that dharana. So the question really is, yeah, more about the what did they pay attention to, and in your experience, and what did they focus on?
I know that they focused on three things. They were very, very deeply soul conscious. Baba had instilled that into them in that period of 14 years of tapasya. Soul consciousness, very deeply. And so they maintained that dignity of self-respect at all times. And then secondly, very often they would experience that angelic form, that form of light. And so they would hold that as their form. And then thirdly, they were always, always aware that Baba has come to make them into divine beings, deities. You know, for us Satyugas, remembered sometimes for them, it was very natural. They're going to be the deities. And so that intoxication was there, and also that attention. Are my thoughts like a deity? As I sit, as I move, as I walk, am I doing all of this as a deity would? I remember Dadi saying to some of us in London in the early days, don't run, walk. Walk like an angel. Walk like a royal deity. Or sometimes when somebody was rushing and grabbing a sandwich and they were walking and eating at the same time, they'd say, hey, does a deity do this? Sit down, remember Baba, and then it'll take you only a few minutes to eat whatever you need to eat. Don't rush and eat at the same time. No, just do it properly as a deity would. And so for them to be a deity was, this is now. It's not something in 10 years' time or 20 years' time or whenever it happens, but let me practice all of these things of the deity stage today. And so it was very, very natural for them to be doing this. And I think it was that deep, deep effort that had been instilled into them through the tapasya of those early years. So I think that for all of us, the global bhakti, the silence bhaktis that have been happening, that's a time in which we can emerge these original, beautiful, pure, elevated, holy sanskars that we all carry within ourselves. You know, Baba's comment today, don't ever think that, well, maybe I was a deity, maybe I wasn't. no, these are weak thoughts. Just have the faith and that confidence that I'm Baba's child now, and so I will be a deity. But let me practice that deity consciousness today. And then the laziness, the carelessness will move away. And just like Baba, Baba never forgets that it's not just for now. For what I'm doing now is for every single kalpa. That's going to become fixed in the drama. And so if today I'm a bit careless and I'm losing out on my fortune, it's not just a loss of now, but it's a loss that's going to happen every single cycle, kalpa after kalpa. And so Baba's reminder of that. And for them, it was ever constant, this idea, every kalpa, every kalpa.
So, gentlemen, thanks. So in relation to that, you mentioned complete purity as well again. So that seems so far when you're so caught up in service and doing an action. So any steps or a way to work towards that complete purity?
Experience it in meditation first, because in that stage where I emerge, my Sato Pradhan stage, Baba wants me to get a taste of it, a feeling for it, the fragrance of it. And so in meditation, I emerge, what was I like in Paramdham, in my Sato Pradhan stage? And then when I came down onto this planet, and everything was completely pure, soul and body, the elements, everything completely pure, then what was the stage of my purity at that time? And so emerge that in meditation and experience it and give yourself a taste for it. And then when you get into karma, now hold that experience of that Sato Pradhan stage. And the things around us that are going on are completely crazy, crazy Kali Yugi. Don't even ask all the crazy things that go on in Kali Yuga. But yet, seeing all of those things, I still emerge my own Sato Pradhan stage. And it's a stage to be experienced more and more in action. In fact, I think through the whole month of January, we'll have the opportunity to experiment and practice all of these things. So I think all centers should be receiving this material of the 5 different Avyakt Murlis that take up the theme of ekant and ekagrta, solitude and concentration. So all the 5 Murlis have these 2 factors in them, because through the Avyakt here, Baba was giving many things. And within that, there'll be a point of self-respect, a point for churning, and a point for experimentation in action, not just sitting down. So I think if we do this homework sincerely with our hearts, I think we'll be able to see each one of us move forward and feel that miracle of transformation that Baba's talking about. It's time to see miracles happen.
I hope so, gentlemen. So let's talk about this alone and lonely. One is, okay, we feel lonely and want other company. But some people like to be alone. They're not necessarily lonely, gentlemen, but they like to be alone and live alone. And you know, what is the point of living with others, struggling and making your life difficult when you can just peacefully, in the comfort of your home, and make your effort? So can you tell me why one should do that?
Yes, it's very simple and very comfortable to be in my little cave and do whatever it is I choose to do myself. But I didn't get a mirror of my sanskars that way. I only actually see myself clearly when I'm in company with others. Then I can feel what is their reaction to me and what is my reaction to them. That's when maybe my buttons get pushed. Living alone at home, who's going to push your buttons? You just don't know yourself until you come into engagement with others. And the more the circle is bigger, the more your buttons are pushed, and the more you realize how much you need to change and what it is you need to do. And so, really, to be in the gathering, to be engaged in service, is to be able to see myself in that mirror. And the second thing, do I want to be a bead of the rosary of victory? Then a bead isn't alone. A bead is part of that rosary. And every bead is connected to the other, to the other, to the other. And all the beads are equal. Each one is valuable, but each one is unique. But yet it's also the same as the next. Otherwise, it wouldn't be part of that rosary. So yes, all with the same purity, all with the highest motivation and intentions, but yet each one with their own unique, distinctive features and characteristics. But the one thread holding all of us together, the thread of love for God. And the third thing, where do I want to be? Do I want to be in Paramdham most of the time? And if that's my choice, that's fine. Let me be in a cave on my own and meditate. And I'll go and stay in Paramdham with Shiv Baba, but I won't be in Satyug. If what I want to do is to experience Jivan Mukti, then the people I relate with now and the sanskars dancing together today in harmony will create my stage in Satyug, where in Jivan Mukti, I will be able to dance along with many others. Otherwise, if I don't learn to do that now, how can I have entry into Satyug where I keep treading on everyone's toes and causing them sorrow? There won't be any entry possible in Satyug. So many different reasons that we should actually stay within the gathering.
So what I hear you saying really is it's really a fast track to becoming perfect.
Well, it's the only track, not just fast track, the only track.
Well, I think there is the slow track. You just continue like a tortoise and maybe one day you'll get there, but because time is short and we have to get there on time, then yeah, I guess you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is everything is conspiring to make me perfect.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so we'll have questions. There's quite a few, gentlemen. So how about this one? When manmat is stronger than Shrimat, one can't realize that he or she may be wrong. So how can we help such a soul even recognize Baba?
I think they've recognized Baba, but the manmat, the desire of the mind, the feelings are so strong that even though there is recognition of Baba, the thought is that, well, Baba doesn't know this situation. I know this practical thing that's going on, and I'm right. And so the ego has really taken over and blocked out of my vision Baba and what it is Baba can give me and who Baba really is. And so I had recognition of Baba, but yet still the desire of the mind took over, the feelings took over. And so this is why I went off on my own track. And all you can do is to give good wishes to such a soul in that situation. You've tried to serve them verbally, tried to help them understand these are the pros and cons. If you follow Shrimat, this is the benefit. If you follow manmat, this is the loss. But it's not registering because the desire of the mind is so strong that it's pulling the soul away.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. Here's another one. Sorry. Yes, what does it mean to have sickness of name and form, and how can I get rid of it?
Here's a situation in which, whether it's at work or it's at the Brahmin family, I keep thinking about another human being. My eyes keep seeking them out. Here's a gathering, but my eyes will always focus on this one individual, and I'm just drawn to them. And so at some point, I'm going to start a conversation with them. And of course, the more we converse and the more we spend time together, the more my intellect gets trapped by that individual. And who knows what happens beyond that? I'm losing my power. I'm handing my power over to another human being. I'm losing contact with Baba. And like Baba said, it's a very sad state. It's a state in which the soul begins to experience a lot of sorrow. And so to prevent that from happening, can I always just simply feel very content and full and complete in the attainments that God has given me? And so each day, let me take from Baba, whether it's through yoga, whether it's through the Murli, but let me fill myself with that state of inner contentment in which my eyes are not drawn to any human being. Prevention is better than any medicine later on. So that's one thing. The second thing is, okay, if my attention is being drawn to a human being and I notice that this is what is going on, how intense is my desire to return to a solid relationship with Baba without any shadow or interference by another human being? And if my desire truly is to stay connected with God rather than be dependent on a human being, then in what ways can I myself discipline myself? Not wait for somebody else to tell me, but can I discipline myself in terms of the time I spend with that individual, in terms of the conversations and communications I have with that individual, if I want to protect my line of contact with God? Because otherwise this human contact is creating a shadow over this, and that connection with God is becoming more and more difficult. So I have to be able to recognize what's going on, and by that recognition, then make sure that nothing interferes in my relationship with God. Because if that breaks, it'll be very difficult for me to manage. But also, whatever happens in terms of my relationship with a human being, and most relationships go through the Sattva, Rajo, Tamo stages, in the sense that at first it may seem, oh, this person's amazing, wonderful, and I'm singing praise of them, whether in words or in my mind. And that stage continues for a while. And then the Rajo stage, where you start noticing, well, they're not as wonderful as they seemed to be a year ago or however long. And then absolutely the Tamo stage, where now I just feel this is bondage and it's causing me grief and sorrow and I want to be free. So Baba's given us a lot of information about all this. So let me recognize it at the very outset. But the most important thing, let me truly feel content in all that Baba's giving me, and whatever it is I need, let my first stop of call, port of call, be God, so that Baba is able to give me, so that I feel content.
And I would like to add that Baba's the only one who does not deceive us. And sometimes the pain of deception is so much greater than even the pain of the vice. Yes. Could we move on to guilt? And we kind of talked about it this morning, Jayanti-ben. And when you were asked what is the opposite of guilt, you said that it was, on the one hand, maybe lack of a conscience, but in Brahmin terms, it was lack of awareness. But surely when somebody feels guilty, they are aware that this is wrong. So isn't that the conscience awakened then? And the second part to that is, as somebody's also writing in the chat, that they keep feeling guilty about everything, and that frustration comes through in their life, in their actions. So how to get over that?
So this is why my comment was that on the one side is guilt, and on the other side is where my conscience isn't recognizing what it is I've done. So when the question is, what is the opposite of guilt? Then my thought is that in guilt, at least my conscience is speaking to me. And the opposite of that is that I don't feel guilty about whatever it is I've done, even though it's breaking Shrimat. Yeah.
Yeah, that bit I got, but then about the awareness.
Okay. Then the state of awareness in Brahmins, I would say, opposite of guilt is where guilt is just making me heavy and frustrated, as you mentioned. But the opposite of that is a state of awareness where I know there has been wrong done, but I'm not getting heavy about it. I'm realizing what it is I need to do now. So contrast in that sense. And so in this state of awareness and realization, I take steps to bring about change. And whatever has happened, I have to accept that it was drama. And even in that, can I look at myself genuinely, sincerely, and see what I learned from that? Okay, maybe I was too naive. I trusted human beings. I made a mistake, and then I was deceived. Okay, big time lesson learned, where Baba is saying, trust only one. And yes, you have that relationship of trust with Brahmins, but yet my faith, my trust in terms of total acceptance of who Baba is, that trust is only in Baba. And so I'm never going to be deceived by human beings again. So can I look back and say, well, maybe it taught me a lot of humility. My ego broke because my ego made me make that mistake. But now that I realize my ego has broken and I feel humbled by what I've been through, and the sorrow has made me realize that making a mistake brings pain, and I don't want to go through that pain again. Okay, so all that is now part of my understanding and my experience, but what am I going to do now? Let me decide which direction I want to go in. I can't carry on just feeling guilty and making mistakes and wasting more time. The precious time I have of Sangam Yugas is slipping through my fingers. And so what do I do today? Step by step by step, let me make a program for myself in which, in manageable steps, I can actually move forward. Can I do a little bit of extra yoga? Can I give a little bit more time to studying the Murli, not just reading it quickly or, okay, I'm sitting in class, but what is the focus of my attention? Is it at the people who are sitting in class, or is it really just Baba? So little steps, but those little steps will create a new consciousness and allow new sanskars to emerge.
Right. So to use guilt as a springboard and not as a hole to sink into. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So I don't think we've had something like this question. So when I see that somebody's treated badly, should I interfere? Because I've heard that to interfere in other people's karma is rajoguni. Like it's not appropriate. It's not good karma.
Can I do something to help the victim? And if I can, let me support them, empower them, encourage them, so that then they are able to stand up for themselves. Then that can never be interference. but it's actually the cooperation and support that Baba has spoken of in some Murlis before. And so I'm not interfering in their karma. I'm actually serving that soul by bringing them closer to Baba and empowering them. And so, to interfere would be, I take it on myself and go striding into the person who's treating them badly and say to them, look, what you're doing is wrong. It shouldn't be like this. That is interfering. And who knows what my relationship with that individual is going to be, the perpetrator. And also, if through my interference at that moment, is the perpetrator going to put more pressure on the victim also? And so I've made things worse for me through my karma with the perpetrator, but also I've made things worse for the victim. But in an incognito, quiet way to actually support and guide and help and maybe explain to that individual what it is they can say and do in difficult circumstances so that they begin to think differently about their situation. Otherwise, just to accept, to continue with the injustice and to accept being a victim is not what Baba's teaching everyone. Baba's teaching each one of us to be strong internally, not fight, but yes, to be able to face the situation and be able to sort it out for myself. But I'm seeing here's another individual who doesn't have that capacity yet. Can I increase their capacity by supporting them and guiding them?
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, gentlemen. So I just have 2 questions now left. Well, I have many, but I'll take 2. One of them is from Saturday's Murli about Dharamraj, that Dharamraj will also give punishment by making you adopt a body, and then the soul will feel that it is being punished. Do you remember those lines?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that, please?
It struck me at that time as I was reading it, Baba's talking about the subtle body. Say, for example, here I am today, and I don't know what I did in my 82nd birth or my 80th birth, but that subtle form of that body will also appear in front of me. And, when Baba says you'll see the whole film in front of you and what it is you've done. And there can never be punishment until there's evidence you've been shown what it is you did. So maybe it's either my own subtle form just in the subtle region, or even it could be my subtle form of that particular birth in which I did something that was not right at all. And so that's my interpretation. It could be either, and maybe both. But also then, it's the soul, disembodied soul, just the point of light, cannot really suffer. It's in that state in which it's beyond all suffering and experience. But the soul in that subtle form, whether past body, present body, but in that subtle form, then connected with that subtle body comes the experience of punishment, deep regret, deep pain and suffering at the loss that I have incurred. So it's not even a suffering in which you're being burnt on the stake or you're being boiled in oil or nothing like that, but the deep, intense suffering of the soul for lost opportunity and lost fortune.
Yeah, that's great. Wow. I think I'm hearing that for the first time. And yes, we've had a few questions because by the time we meet next week, it'll be the 1st of Jan or 2nd of Jan. And so quite a few people asking what preparations to make for Avyakt year and some golden tips for leaving old sanskars behind. So I would say a word or 2 about the Avyakt month.
It's the month for tapasya. It's the month to become Bap Saman. It's the month in which love for Brahma Baba emerges in a very powerful way. And through that, we come closer to Shiv Baba. Today's Murli, Baba speaking so much about how Shiv Baba had to come in the body of Brahma It had to be Prajapita, the father of the people here in this physical dimension. So the month of January creates all of those very pure, elevated, positive feelings. And then especially because Baba has given so much importance to the Avyakt year and the comments from that time, but also now we know that the whole world is going to be truly focused on experiencing the Avyakt stage so that we can together bring time closer, so that together we move forward in what we need to do, so that then truly that moment comes when Baba is revealed to the world, and then we'll be able to go home. So I feel that because of all these different things coming together, the Avyakt year Murlis, the Avyakt month, and the world coming together, not just foreign lands deciding we want to have a special yoga bhatti or India doing something which is different, but India and foreign lands coming together and doing this global bhatti across that month, the month of silence, I think is going to be very, very powerful. And so the preparation, can I spend more and more time with myself? For some, Christmas is over, and so now you can actually begin to do the work. For some, Christmas probably will continue till the very end of December until the 1st of January begins, and then it's January New Year parties. So maybe it'll take a few days to settle down into the tapasya mode. And maybe by the 3rd or 4th of January, people will be ready for tapasya. But even if I'm not actively increasing my hours of yoga now, and I'm still going to parties, it's okay. But can I begin to reflect? How can I prepare myself by being more and more in inner solitude? I'm with people out there, but internally, the soul is striving to come to that inner state of silence and peace. The soul is thirsty for this and wants to experience this. So let me just listen to that inner voice and start feeling that.
So lovely. Thank you so much, Jayanti Ben, and thank you everyone, and wishing everyone a very happy new year from all of us, from the whole team that sets this up. And we'll have lovely drishti now. And we've put again the link to the question and answers that Sister Jayanti does. You can reference them quickly. You can just make a copy of that site. And yeah, all the best, and see you in the subtle regions.
And enjoy every moment of this old year with Baba, and prepare for, yes, the Avyakt month for 2023. May it be a year, as Baba said, in which you see miracles of personal transformation.
Wandering and wandering, oh God, I have come. I have entered your sanctuary. This is Nanak's prayer, oh God. Please attach me to your service. शरण आए नानक की प्रभ बेनती अपनी भगति ला